Two outboard engines are sitting side by side on a marine workshop bench right now. One costs $15,000. The other costs $2,800. From 3 feet away, they look almost identical. The cowling shape, the mounting bracket, even the control layout could pass for twins. But the moment you crack open the first cylinder head, the debate is over. And not for the reason you think. See, the dirty secret of the Chinese outboard industry is that these engines aren't original designs. Nearly every Chinese outboard under 60 horsepower is a direct reverse-engineered copy of an older Yamaha platform. The parts literally carry Yamaha part numbers. You can go on eBay right now and find gear sets listed as Fits Yamaha, Parsun, and Hidea because they copied the blueprints down to the casting dimensions. Brands like Parsun, Hidea, Hankai, and Yamabishi often roll off the same factory floors in Suzhou and Taizhou, China, with nothing but different paint and different stickers. So if the design is the same, why does one cost 5 times more than the other? The answer is hiding inside the cylinder block. Yamaha casts their F-150 blocks from ADC-12 aluminum alloy at their own foundry in Shizuoka Prefecture, Japan. That alloy runs about 12% silicon and 2% copper, which makes it extremely resistant to heat cycling and corrosion. The cylinder walls get a thermal spray coating that eliminates traditional cast iron liners entirely. Less weight, harder surface, better heat transfer. The crankshaft rides on plain shell bearings that are individually size-coded. Every bearing is stamped with a number, the block is stamped with a matching number, and a technician cross-references a chart to get the exact tolerance match at assembly. The connecting rods are torqued in a 3-stage sequence, 17 foot-pounds, then 35, then a final 90-degree rotation. This is precision work. Now open up the Chinese engine and the contrast is immediate. The most detailed English-language teardown of a Chinese outboard happened on the Pirate 4x4 forum, where a mechanic pulled apart a Hidea 2.5 horsepower, 4-stroke, piece by piece. What he found was ugly. Metal shavings sitting under the oil fill cap from factory machining that nobody bothered to clean out. A sound isolator held on so loosely it pulled right off the frame. A carburetor so poorly jetted the engine wouldn't rev past idle under load. And the factory included spare impellers and pull start cords in the box, which the mechanic interpreted as an admission that those parts were already expected to fail. But the cosmetic stuff isn't what should scare you, it's what's happening inside the lower unit and the bearing housings. UK marine engineers have documented Chinese manufacturers using nylon bushings where proper steel bearings should sit. That's a load bearing component made from plastic instead of metal, and you can't see it without a teardown. Regular mild steel gets substituted wherever stainless should be used, in fasteners, trim motors, and internal hardware. The aluminum alloy itself is measurably softer than Japanese castings. And a specific Hidea defect was confirmed by Parsun Australia's own distributor, a missing locating pin in the water pump housing that allows a stainless steel insert to spin and block the cooling water outlet. That single missing pin can overheat and destroy the entire engine. Now let's talk about what happens when these engines meet salt water. Yamaha uses a proprietary alloy called YDC-30, blending aluminum with silicon, magnesium, and titanium for the structural frame. Over that goes the Phase 5 paint system, 5 individual layers of primer, undercoat, and acrylic resin, each one oven-baked separately, then sealed with clear urethane lacquer. Then they scatter 12 or more sacrificial zinc anodes throughout the engine, 8 internal anodes behind the exhaust cover alone. This is an engine designed to fight the ocean for a decade or more. The Chinese engines get a fraction of this protection. One coat of paint that's closer to automotive primer than marine-grade finish. Forum owners report paint peeling off Chinese lower units within months of saltwater exposure and significant internal corrosion appearing within 2 to 3 years. For lifespan context, Chinese outboards show anecdotal survival of about 120 to 250 hours in fresh water before major issues. Yamaha outboards routinely hit 3,000 to 5,000 hours, with some commercial and Coast Guard vessels logging over 10,000. A Russian marine publication called it Boat did the most damaging investigation into Chinese outboard quality. They documented that the brand Yamaha had a return rate of 8 out of 10 engines shipped with manufacturing defects. Their broader assessment of Chinese assembly lines was brutal. Factory workers forget to install locating keys, leave gearbox caps loose, skip sealant on bolts, and send out engines with half-finished assembly work. And they found that quality has actually gotten worse over time on some brands, as manufacturers swap in cheaper components once they've established market presence. So the Chinese engine is garbage and the Yamaha always wins. Case closed, right? Not exactly. And this is where I have to be honest with you, because that's what this channel does. The 5-year cost of ownership math tells a more complicated story than the sticker price suggests. A Yamaha F-150 runs about $17,000 at the dealer. A comparable Parsun 115 EFI costs about $9,900. But after 5 years, that Yamaha is still worth $11,000 to $14,000 on the secondary market. The Parsun is worth functionally nothing. You won't find it in any valuation guide, and there's no organized resale market for these engines. Forum users report that bolting a Chinese outboard onto a $30,000 boat can knock $10,000 off the asking price overnight. When you run the actual numbers, purchase price minus resale value plus maintenance, the Yamaha's net 5-year cost lands around $6,000 to $9,000. The Chinese engine's net cost lands around $9,000 to $12,000. The expensive engine is actually cheaper to own. And that's before you factor in the risk of being stranded offshore with a dead motor. Now, I'm not going to pretend Chinese outboards never work. A Parsun 3.6 ran 5 years trouble-free as an Australian dinghy tender. Small Parsun 4-strokes have logged 150 hours with just a spark plug swap. If you're buying under 10 horsepower for a freshwater pond boat or a dinghy tender where you're never more than 100 yards from shore, and you're willing to completely tear it down and reassemble it yourself before first use with fresh Loctite on every bolt, you can get away with it. But as primary power on a center console in salt water, every marine mechanic I've researched says the same thing. Don't. One last piece of the outboard market puzzle you need to know about. Yamaha. Outboard prices have climbed over 30% since 2021. The F-150 went from about $15,700 to over $20,000 for the 2026 model year. Meanwhile, Chinese imports now face roughly 37% cumulative tariffs after the Section 301 and Section 122 duties. That $2,800 price tag is creeping up fast. And no Chinese manufacturer currently offers an EPA-certified engine above 115 horsepower through a legal US dealer. So for the engines most of you actually need on your boats, there is no Chinese alternative available in this country right now. The blueprints were stolen, the execution was cheap, and the math doesn't lie. If you found this teardown useful, subscribe. I break down what's physically inside boats and engines every week, so you know what the dealership won't tell you.